Hello there. Hi there, and thanks for joining me. Are you sitting comfortably? We are still 1 week on into lockdown, and a lot of stuff hasn't changed. We're still not getting easy access to food, and I'm still at home. Here we are again. Welcome. I should take that piece of paper off the printer for a start. I thought today I'd have a look at what's gone on over the past week as a result of the COVID-19 coronavirus that has now spread pretty much worldwide. The one good thing that's happened, I think, is that by and large the logistics chains have responded. To some extent, to a large extent, I think the issue of food shortages or toilet roll shortages or whatever you're suffering from is not a supply problem. It's a matter of the logistics chain being able to respond to massive changes in consumer demand patterns. And we've seen the same elsewhere in the chemical supply chain, for instance, or even just in general freight. I think last week I mentioned the 30-kilometre tailbacks at the Germany-Poland border for trucks to get in and out. That seems to have cleared up. Transporion provided a very helpful summary of where we are now. And things do seem to be improving. There's still some snags at the Swiss border, I think. But then, they don't want to be in the EU. So what do you expect? Yeah. Where it has had a huge impact, actually, is at the bulk end of the business. The tanker shipping industry is in, I wouldn't say turmoil exactly, because they're enjoying, certainly at the bigger end of the oil tanker business, they're enjoying phenomenal earnings at the moment. Despite, of course, the fact that end user demand has collapsed. People are not driving, people are not flying. So where's the requirement for gasoline, for diesel, for kerosene? It's gone. And as a result, the crude oil price has slumped to, I think people are talking about $10 a barrel at the moment, which we haven't seen in a long time. So there's a lot of oil about, which is filling up storage terminals, and also filling up particularly older tankers that are being repurposed for storage, which, as I say, is good news for owners. How that will unwind, how long that'll take to unwind, I don't know. There's even been talk, I think, of some easing in the US-China trade war. I believe I saw that a cargo of LNG was heading from the States to China. So, we're getting used to it, I suppose. We still have very, very few brave event organisers who are still going ahead with their planned events, although there is still time, I think, for that to change. And those of you who get the newsletter and are wondering when these things are going to take place, it will include on Thursday a very handy list, I hope, of the cancellations and postponements to the spring events, with some pointers to when they're likely to take place, although, as I said, that may still change. The other thing that's gone out the window is face-to-face training. Trainers can't get into facilities, people can't get to training schools. So most of the, certainly the bigger training schools are promoting online training, which is all well and good up to a point, I think, although I'm in that camp that believes that online training can't deliver, certainly initial training, with any degree of success. So also quite helpfully, PHMSA in the States and Transport Canada have issued provisions to delay recurrent training, and certainly in Canada also delay periodic inspections and testing. Same thing's happening in Europe through multilateral special agreements to ADR and ADN, in fact, for training, for tank inspection, and so on. Again, those will be listed in the newsletter. So we seem to be, in a way, getting used to this new way of living. And I did have, there was one other thing I wanted to mention while we're talking about this, getting used to sudden changes in the supply chain. We have been talking about this at a number of conferences over the last few years, that the logistics companies need to be more agile and responsive to changes in demand. When we were talking about that, of course, we didn't have in mind a total global lockdown, but more sort of weather-related events that we've seen in the past, or the Rastatt closure, for instance. And of course, one of the other things that's happened over the last few years is that digitization has come into the supply chain and made it a lot easier, or a lot more obvious for logistic providers to see and respond quickly to disruptions in the supply chain. Now, I'm sure those of you who are working in that field, who are fully tooled up with digitized systems, have an advantage at a time like this, because you've got better intelligence, more accurate picture of where goods are, how they're moving, and can adapt rapidly. Anyway, I did sort of invite questions as before, and we did have a few in, and particularly because, here it is, I just took it off. Because we are hopeful that eventually we'll come out the other end of this. We've got to start thinking about what the world might look like post COVID-19. And our dear friend Paul Gooch has been in touch again with a point of a question. He says coronavirus is being touted as a factor which is going to accelerate change in the way companies will be organized and the way work will get done in future. Well, I think up to a point that fits, yes, with the digitization process. One of the aspects that those who are promoting digitized systems highlight quite often is not just in terms of visibility in the supply chain, but actually a real sort of rethink in the way that organizations operate, the breaking down of silos, the automation of repetitive tasks, which could easily happen in the dispatch office. So yes, however, in the case of chemical logistics, Paul says, products will still need to be transported and delivered to customers, despite all of the upstream integration in Verbunds and clusters. Verbunde? Taking your crystal ball, so I seem to have left in a cupboard somewhere. Do you see significant change in the way products will be transported in future? E.g. more regionalization, less globalization, more near sourcing? Or do you expect a gradual return to pre-pandemic conditions? Well, I was thinking about this. And in some ways, there's quite a lot of good that's come out of this pandemic. I think people are thinking more seriously about how they're sourcing products, and probably becoming aware of logistics in a way that they haven't before. And so you might say, yes, well, I think people will start buying locally, companies as well, sourcing locally. because it's more reliable. But to be honest, my gut feeling is that as soon as this is over, we're just going to go straight back to what we were doing before. Of course, shippers and buyers, in particular, because the power is often with them, are looking for the best product at the best price. And however things shake out, price will still be the number one deciding factor. And unless there is a complete restructuring in the cost base of transport and logistics, it's hard to see that buyers of chemicals are going to change their habits quite as drastically as they might otherwise do in view of the things that have happened. That's my finger in the wind. Let me know if you agree with that, or if you've got a valid way of disproving it. Hopefully, like I say, we'll still be around to see how it all shakes out in the end. And hopefully, too, I'll still be here next week. We can run through all of this again and see what's happened in the meantime. Stay safe and wash your hands. See you soon.